A very good day to you, Nigerians. It's a clement weather here in the beautiful city of Abuja. This is Headline Review on AfroConnect TV, and you know what it is. What we do here is to tell you about headlines that have been making waves across the country. And today we have some headlines I would like to talk about. And you know, I am not here alone. My name is Chinatu, and of course, I have with me my handsome colleague.
Good morning, Chinatu. I'm Godwin Sunday. And of course, it's a pleasure always doing this with you.
Exactly. How have you been?
So fine so far. God has been helping us.
We keep getting news every day, every day, every day. I mean, that's what happens when you're in Nigeria. And so I think we just head right into it. We have the president appointing a chairman and executive secretary for the Almajiri Commission. The president adjusted his earlier appointment where he approved that the National Commission for the Almajiri and out-of-school children education should be handled by Brigadier General Lawal Issa, retired, whom he earlier appointed as the executive secretary on March 15th. So General Lawal Issa will now serve as the chairman of the commission, while Dr. Idris Sani will now serve as the executive secretary. And trust me, these are the kind of things I like to see. I like to see when leaders are being rewarded for their work. It just shows that when you do well, you can be elevated. So from being a secretary to being a chairperson, right? So, and it just calls to, you know, Godwin, it calls to say that when you're given a position, what do you do with it? Do you lead accurately, or do you do what you need to do? Because you see, the issue of out-of-school children or Almajiri is it's something that's really touching. Yeah. Just today when I was coming to the office, I saw a lot of them around the pedestrian bridge around my area, and they were just littered everywhere, asking for alms, asking for money. And this is the issue. We have children in school, then we have the ones who are at the pedestrian asking for money. And we want to find out, when is this going to stop? And so seeing the president making this appointment, it just makes me understand that, okay, so something is happening. There are people who are going to, you know, work to see that children are no longer on the street. But do you think it's something that's achievable anytime soon? I mean, getting all the children out of school, seeing how the country is.
Well, Chinatu, we're looking at about 13.5 million Nigerian out-of-school children, approximately. That's quite a number.
Yeah.
If we go by that number, one will begin to ask salient questions like, what led us to this point?
To this point.
How long has the Almajiri Commission been in existence? If you look at it, take it from 2010, the former president, that's the president of Goodluck Billy Jonathan has been trying to solve these issues of Almajiri, trying to give them good education. But then we've seen a lot of scenarios that played out within that period. We've seen them evolve. A lot of them went to schools, and as soon as President Goodluck Jonathan left, most of them went back to the streets. Who sponsors Almajiri in the north? How long have the commission been there? At this point in time, we're asking, if the president is saying that he's appointing a new person to head the Almajiri Commission, it is fine. But then we are asking a salient question, is this going to be another commission in Nigeria that is going to be affiliated to the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs? Or we're just creating another commission to give title to political titles to political holders? Or what are we actually doing in the country? Because if we're saying we're creating a Almajiri Commission in Nigeria, I would want to ask, out of school children in the Far East and also the Far South, let's tilt it towards ethnic lines. Before you see Nigerians will start clamoring for other out of school children commissions in other regions in the country. So I think we should rather, instead of putting doing all of this Almajiri thing in the north, we can also ensure that these whole systems evolve. Okay. When we now begin to talk about having out-of-school children commissions, instead of targeting it along Almajiri lines, which will now defeat the essence of tilting it towards the north. So we'll now say, okay, out-of-school children commission, then the president can now put whoever he wants to put on that. That's my take, by the way. Okay. It's not a general opinion. It's just my...
Because you see, the truth is we have children living on the street across the country. So it's not just in the northern part of Nigeria. But I think the big question here is, where do we have this more prevalent, right? And if you see, the truth is, it's more in the north. So I think that's why this appointment is made. But then you've raised a very salient point. We do not have only Almajiris, or we do not have out-of-school children only in the north. So we want the government to, extend that hand of fellowship across the 36 states of the Federation.
And then just as a takeoff for that, just a conclusion to that also, just as to put the eyes into that cake. I think also the person, the principal, or the person that's been appointed as the chairman of that commission also should be one with a trusted integrity, and not be one with any form of dent in his personality. I think that's what that should be. Going forward, the president should also look ways that they can ensure that we don't have people that have track records of being in politics prior to this time. We can have neutral people. But
so, Godwin, speaking about the president appointing people who do not have bad track records, I think that somebody like Jafar Issa is someone who has previously served. He has served as a military administrator between 1993 and 1996. And so that's a very good reference point, coming from that point of leadership, then becoming a secretary and then a chairperson. And so I think I must say, okay, he probably has something to offer.
Let me also agree with you on that, so that we can move on. All right, so away from that, Justice Emeka Nwete has granted interim order after ruling on an ex parte motion moved by the lawyer representing the anti-corruption body, Ekenle Iheanacho. A federal high court in Abuja has ordered Binance Holdings Limited to provide information on all persons trading on the platform from Nigeria to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Justice Emeka Nwete granted an interim order after ruling on an ex parte motion moved by the lawyer representing the anti-corruption body, Ekenle Iheanacho. Well, let's bring this back to the studio. For one, I need to commend the Economic and Financial Crime Commission for doing a very great job trying to understand the way digital asset and digital currency works. You understand? And when they have loopholes and they feel like people are using it to siphon funds, they're now telling Binance, which is one of the most popular brand when it comes to the fiat, the digital currencies, to make us know people that do these things. And I think from Binance point, they have some rules in their in-house regulations that has been one of the defending factor for them, that they can't disclose this. But then the world over, people are saying that the cryptocurrencies and digital assets are being used to fund terrorism. It's alleged, by the way. It's alleged that it's being used to fund terrorism. It's being used to fund all manner of vices. And so the federal government right now is also trying to take a step towards ameliorating that scenario for Nigerians, where whoever is dealing with Binance or any digital platform, they should be able to have full names, at least identification for them to know. But then I know again that Binance have what they call also KYC, that's know your customers. And also Binance also do what they call P2P, that is persons to person payments on their platform also. But right now they've removed Nigerians from that platform. But then again, I would want to ask at this point, which is very critical and pertinent for us as a country, if we're saying that Binance should provide means of identification for us to be able to know how many people and who is trading on that platform, we should also be saying that the federal government should also let us know, as it stands right now, who and who is buying the e-Naira. Who are the top buyers of e-Naira platform? Who are the top? No, we need to know. They should make it public. These are financial statements.
When was the last time you even heard about e-Naira?
No, e-Naira still functions.
Yeah, but when was the last time? I mean, it's almost becoming
No, I heard it yesterday.
Okay.
I heard about it yesterday. They are trying to add more spice to it to make it more lucrative, so that to get Nigerian, especially the younger generations, to the Gen Z bodies and to get into it. But then I think again, from my own standpoint, that Nigerian government should not be a copycat without understanding how things work. We've seen Nigerian government come out oftentimes to ban online currencies and cryptocurrencies. Like what is going on right now, it's almost similar to what USA is doing to Binance as a company. So if you're saying that Binance is, they should allow you to go through their books, we are not asking, are there red lights that the EFCC have seen Are there red lights that the police intelligence have seen? So looking at all of this fact, and one will also want to profile recommendations to the Nigerian police and also other sister agencies that going after Binance and also other financial platforms, before we do that, we should try as much as we can to understand the way these things work. Then we can now go into them too, so that we won't cause, what they call it, a system where we don't understand it and we're trying to disrupt it. So that's my own take on that, Chinas.
You know, you mentioned something about the funds or the digital currency allegedly being used to sponsor terrorism. And now it begs the question, we've been having cases of banditry here in the country. And I know that there have been cases where these bandits have been arrested over and over again. So is there any situation where they catch a particular bandit or a sect and they say, okay, how do we trace your fund? And it is traced to a digital currency. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, because if that is the case, then beautiful. I mean, we are trying by all means to shut anything down that threatens our security as a people, as a nation. And so if that is the case, fine. But in a situation where we are not trying to copy a system that makes things work, I mean, the world is going global, the world is going digital. We should copy that. We don't just come here and say, okay, we need to control this. Why are we controlling this? If there is a problem, we should solve it. If there is an issue, we should find how to, get a better system, a working system that will help it align with what we have here and not just cut it off because we think that, we do not have absolute control. And I understand from the facts where the central bank controls the money that's printed, you know how much is being in circulation. But then, if we do not have a figure, we can't put a figure to how much is being circulated online. Can't we create a system where we check that? That's what we should talk about.
My
Can't
thought
we create
exactly.
a system where we check that? So we don't just say, we need to shut this down. Because the truth is, the young people you're trying to stop will always find another means. And so why don't we give them an environment where we can check them and ensure that they're doing the right thing?
You're doing the right thing, it is, Chinatu. I can't agree less with your submissions. But let's move on to other issues right now. And let's go down to Delta State, where 4 days after the killing of military officers and civilians in the Okwama community in Ugeli South local government area of Delta State, Governor Sharif on Monday visited the troubled community to assess the extent of the destruction. The military joint task force, however, barred journalists from covering the governor's assessment tour of the troubled community.
You know that.
And the joint task force operative barricaded the major entries to Okwama with an armored vehicle, also armored carrying personnel tanks, thus preventing vehicular and human traffic, including media men, from gaining access to the community. At this point, I say,
because I mean, barring journalists from coming. But honestly, I think I understand from their angle. Or let me say, I may understand from their angle.
Okay.
Because you want to be sure of the kind of information that is going out. And half information, they say, is better than... a correct information is better than half information. The military understands that they may not be able to have a hand in what goes out. So it is better that, okay, let's stop you from coming in than you coming in and getting half information. Because as far as I'm concerned, investigations are currently ongoing. And you cannot say that you just come and then you have a full information. I do not think so. And it might also be because the military is trying to, privacy protection, protecting your what's it called again? What's the word? I can't find it now. But, at this point, they need that privacy. They need to carry out proper investigation. And that is the angle I'm seeing it from. But also, there needs to be transparency because while you're telling us, don't come and get this information, while you're blocking the journalists, how then do we know what to report? How then do we ensure that what goes out is factual? Right? How then do we know that we are not getting half-baked information? So I think there needs to be a balance somewhere. There needs to be a line that, juxtaposes between what goes in and what goes out.
Chinatu, for me, I think that the governor was given an access to the place.
So why not journalists?
No, let's take it because we are the fourth arm of the realm.
Exactly.
And we need to look at these things and look at it holistically. The governor was given an access to the place because he's the commander-in-chief of Delta State. An incident has occurred. There are a lot of cries on social media and also other traditional media platforms that there is a lot of inhuman treatment being melted on civilians in Okwama community. And the military have come out to say that this is an attempt to dent the reputation of the Nigerian army. But the governor has gone there now to do an assessment tour of the place. So I ask, if the governor went there to do an assessment tour, how will the governor be able to ascertain the level of damage done? Who reports the level of damage done? Who gives recommendation on the level of damage done? How will the public be, how do we place this in the tribunal of history and judge this fairly, that what has been alleged has not been done, if pressmen are not even allowed to weigh the circumstance of what has been done?
That's what I'm
so
saying.
I think the military going this route, it's not in the right step in the right direction, because doing this is an infringement on the fundamental human right, which is enshrined in Chapter 4 of the Nigerian Constitution. It's an abridge of Chapter 36 of the Nigerian Constitution, which means that if you don't have a freedom of information, that means we cannot even express. And it's a total variance of Section 39 of the Nigerian Constitution. So I think the military should go back in-house and look at these things. And in as much as we're trying to protect certain rights and do thorough investigation, we should try also within our purviews to ensure that we do due diligence in this whole process, so that at least people can know the truth.
The truth.
And be able to measure the truth with facts, like you rightly said.
Yeah.
But it is Nigerian, and we hope and keep our fingers crossed that the military are listening to us and they'll be able to do the needful across board.
Exactly. And so that's how we take it to the Nation newspaper, where the FCT Minister Wike is seeking security votes to tackle insecurity in the Federal Capital Territory. Godwin, this is an interesting conversation. Right, because it is, okay, let me just give a little brief. So this is because the FCT minister recently defended the over 1 point something trillion naira as the FCTA budget for the 2024 fiscal year before the Senate committees on FCT and FCT's area councils. And he was able to narrate, during his defense, how he was able to save $53 million by negotiating operations aspects of the Abuja Light Rail contract from $128 million to $75 million. Now, this is a part where I love. So we are able to renegotiate contracts. A contract is awarded of so amount, and we have people who can renegotiate. This is the kind of thing I want to encourage, but I really do not know how we don't see a lot of it. There's a contract, so you can renegotiate, and you bring it down to this amount. But that's not the bane of the matter. The bane of the matter right now is the minister asking for the security vote. You know that what the security vote does is, fine, it is not the kind of money that comes out in the open, and it's not the kind of money that it's usually accounted for. It's something that bypasses legislative corridors, right? Just because the governor or the head of state wants to look at the security. But then, the question now is the FCT minister in that position to ask for it? Is he supposed to ask for it? Because we almost have, there is a senator representing the Federal Capital Territory, right? Senator Ireti, the Labour Party candidate. And then we have the FCT minister. Is there a conflict of interest somewhere? He's asking for this. Is it working in tandem with this person, with this woman? There's just a lot of questions, and this is security vote. We know what it is. We will not account for it, or the government will not account for it as it were, because there's really no transparency around it. It's just something that bypasses the legislative corridors for jobs to be done. You don't hold anybody accountable. Whether the funds are diverted or not is really not our business. But the FCT minister, Wike, asking for it now and insisting that he gets it, and citing instances of where he was able to renegotiate a contract or project, shows that, there's just something.
Chinatu, I can't agree less that there is, of course, there's something at this point in time where a serving minister is also trying to call for, it's the first time, so we should commend him at least for the right step in the right direction. The FCT ordinarily ought to be a state, if not that this is a seat of the presidency. It ought to be a state, so at least they, to a certain degree, they're entitled to some form of security vote. But then looking at the security vote, how did this evolve? How did this even come into limelight? Now, which most Nigerian governors have used to, I don't want to use the word, but then,
siphon?
Let's not use the word siphon. They've used it to enrich, you understand, a certain few. You understand? Because it's not siphoned. At least people get benefit from it. But the majority don't get.
So I think the better word would be divert. Divert into some other things.
Okay, so for one, I should think that the FCT minister at this point in time is not doing something that is wrong. No, it's not wrong for him to call. There are a lot of projects to be done in the Federal Capital Territory.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a lot of, if you go through the various districts in the Federal Capital Territory, there are a lot of projects to be done. So I need to commend his effort right now. But then again, we'll now begin to ask salient questions. One of those questions we are asking is, how many governors right now are accounting for the security votes? How many? How can the government ensure that we be able to, governors are able to account for the security vote?
They're not really supposed to account
for
it.
They need to start accounting for this.
That's why security
accountability is the key right now. So that's one of the things we need to look at. Chinatu, I think from my own opinion, though, I'm not a serving member of the of VK's cabinet, by the way. Okay, so let's move on away from that and go straight to the issue of Katsina State, where Governor, in the person of Diko, is commending the Civilian Joint Task Force and the Community Watch Corps and security agents of the state for at least killing 200 bandits in the state for the last 2 weeks. I think we really need to commend the security agents.
That's impressive.
With that alone and that message being going out right now, it sends a very strong signal to intended bandits that
intended bandits.
Yeah, the Katsina State is a no-go area for bandits. I hope all the states will take a cue from this and also do away with vandalism and also banditry activities within their territory.
And I think we really need to press that the Joint Task Force operation happens across the country, because we are seeing what they do. I know in 2012, channels reported that we were able to discover a bomb somewhere in Kano State. And so this is the kind of information we want. We want them to go out, but then they can't just go out if they're not getting the support they need from the government. So we want to say JTF across the country and then government backing them up. Then we can be sure of banditry almost being a thing of the past.
I would have suggested that the way you sounded, it should just be, we should refer you to the military. I think you should be the one to be heading the Joint Task Force now.
No. And that's how far we can go today on the headline review, of course, on AfroConnect TV. Until we come your way again, it is Chinatu Oji and, of course,
Godwin Sunday.
And we're saying bye for now.